not gonna be here on long tonight. But I just thought it was interesting that we're getting ready to go through. The Democratic National Convention is about a month away, and there's been a lot of talk about. There's been a lot of support for Kamala Harris, and particularly, what I hate is when they try to pit or shame or guilt trip black men into supporting candidates that that don't necessarily speak to their issues, or that black men may not necessarily like from a policy perspective. Doesn't have anything to do with her being a woman or her being a black woman, but it has everything to do with the policies. And when you look and you see, like, there was 44,000 black women who raised like $1.5 million or $1.6 million. And then there was 15,000 black men who raised like a million or some odd dollars. There are people, there are people like myself who I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Kamala. Break of People said Kamala 2024. Well, I'm glad that you voting for her. I'm happy that you're doing that. But it's been interesting because the Democrats talk about the end of democracy, and Donald Trump is the end of democracy. But let's look at what they're talking about when they say the end of democracy. Is it the end of democracy when you decide that Kamala Harris is going to be the presidential the presidential nominee or the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party without having an actual nomination process? Is that democratic? Because what's supposed to happen is the candidates go through the primaries. They go through the primaries, and when they go through the primaries, you vote, and then you see who gets the most vote and basically who's the strongest candidate. Then after that, you go in and you have the nomination process, and then you become the official nominee of the actual party. But the Democrats are in such a bad situation right now that they're willing to go out and bypass their own democratic voting process or democratic nomination process to install Vice President Kamala Harris as the vice president. Michael Bremer said, politics ain't nothing but a show to distract the masses, and y'all buying it hook, line, and sinker. Rothschild said, how can a democracy not vote the candidate in the primary? Michelle said it's a coup. They threw Biden to the wolves. Jocelyn Furco said, not when the current president resigns, genius. Kamala's parents were citizens, but supposedly she was born here, so grandfathered in. That's coming at the DNC. I think Cardi B would be better than Harris. Goodness gracious, y'all cold. Y'all cold. Well, people look at me crazy because I voted for Kanye in the last election. But cheating the people of their voice and vote, says Steve Reed. Exactly. So how is it that you're saying that the candidate from the other party is such a threat to democracy when you're willing to violate democratic principles of voting and nominating your candidate because you're that afraid of the other side winning? That's a problem. That's hypocrisy, right? What is it? What is hypocrisy? Hypocrisy is a lack of integrity, right? Kamala was left in charge of the borders. Slizzy said, we are a republic. Absolutely, Slizzy. We are a republic. In fact, we're a constitutional republic with democratic features, something that I have covered in previous lives and in previous videos that I'll re-release. But I'm saying that there's a whole process of voting. And unfortunately, it seems like the Democrats are willing to bypass that process because they're so afraid of losing to Donald Trump. Now, Kamala Harris has raised the most amount of money in a 24-hour period than any presidential candidate in history, right? Which is an amazing thing. She raised $82 million. The problem is that um, there are people in the Democratic Party who does not want Kamala Harris to be to be the nominee. There are people in the Democratic Party who does not want Kamala Harris to be the nominee. Now, the people who don't want Kamala Harris to be the nominee are much more powerful, much more influential than you or I, right? But it's easier to blame black men than it is to blame the people the powers that be. And who are the powers that be? They are the billionaire class that are making the donations. They are the incumbent politicians that are there that have been in office and wielding power for the last 15, 20 years. Ifa Sadoun said, when the president can't perform a duty, the VP picks up when he can't. Absolutely. Brisha Beautiful Bliss said, hi, I just want to receive some knowledge. I'm glad to see one of my students on here, my former students. Sean Brodeur said, over 80 million of that was released when Biden stepped down, so she did not raise that. Exactly. Slizzy said, Montel Williams is a big donor. They took your votes away from you guys. Once again, there was pressure. AOC let the cat out the bag. What? Appeal. Oh my goodness. Somebody just reported my live. Somebody just reported my live and said that it was a violation. Now I have to go back and ask, wow, saying that it's misinformation, civic and election integrity. That's how big people are haters. That's the problem with cancel culture, is that they're not willing to have the debate of the ideas and the debate of the facts. And it's easier to shut somebody up than it is for you to have an honest debate. What happens when you no longer can talk? You either going to resort to physical violence. You're going to resort to physical violence because now it's like, look, I need to be heard, and not just I need to be heard. It's okay if I'm not heard, but if only what you say goes and I don't have no say in what goes, then that's a big issue. That's a big issue. That's a big issue. And it's crazy that they have sat here. They have sat here and flagged my account because of that. That's called game. But I got y'all on Instagram, which is good. So, I think the problem is that I'm gonna go back to it. You can't blame black men when you lose an election. And you got to speak to our issues in a special way. Whatever it is that you do, what you doing. It's a position I don't understand. Like, you gotta speak to black men, and the problem is that a lot of the money has not been going to messaging to black men. It has not been messaging to black people. You know who she's messaging to? Black women, and as she should. But when black women get hit with the okie doke, and it's like black women put you in office, but now all of a sudden you're making this major pivot to Indians, right, and South Asians. Black women are gonna be like, well, look, we have 40,000 people on a phone call advocating for you, and this is how you do us. Yeah, that's the Democratic Party. What else do you expect? What else do you expect? The Democratic Party's been doing it to black people for the last 50 years. Utilizing our vote, and then after they get our vote, they don't really care about anything that we have to say. And whose fault is that? That's our fault, because we keep giving our vote instead of getting something back from it. And this has to be one election where people make a stance. What happens? Black people, we're so emotional, and instead of looking at the facts, we will vote out of fear instead of voting out of our interests. I'll say that again. We will vote out of fear versus voting out of our interests. Or what will we do? We will vote out of some false sense of identity, or some identity that has been given to us versus the identity that we've created for ourselves. What's up, Rhonda Maloney? What's up, Shamoria36? What's up? What's up, James? The Book of Samaj. What's happening? The Lions Den was good. Once again, I hate when the narrative is that, you know, black men don't support black women, and when they try to use that narrative in this particular situation. I don't believe that it has anything to do with black men not supporting black women. Now, America in general might have an issue, definitely has an issue with black women, but to put that on black men is a unfair characterization. The thing is that as voters, we cannot vote out of fear. We have to vote out of interest and be willing to take the L. Be willing to take the L. What does that mean? That means that, look, my interests, I'm highly interested in crypto and in voting. So whatever candidate that I vote for has to speak to blockchain and crypto. They have to be involved in blockchain and crypto. Whoever I vote for president, that has to be part of their policy position. Why? Because that's important to me. That's my interest. That's how I make sure that I feed myself and feed my family. Black people, we vote out of fear instead of voting from our interests, and that's why we always find ourselves in a weaker and defensive position, because we move out of fear instead of moving from interest. If we as a people stop allowing a party to hit us with the okie doke, what do? They put a black woman in front of us, or a woman who can identify as black when it's convenient for us, when it's convenient for her. They could put when it's convenient for Kamala to identify as black, right? And when is it convenient for her to identify as black? When she needs votes, when she needs campaign donations, when she needs volunteers. Because one thing that black women are going to do, that those 44,000 black women are going to do, they're going to post on social media every day. They're going to tell their friends to vote for Kamala Harris. They're going to be passionate about advocating for Kamala Harris. But then what does Kamala Harris do for them? See, the problem is that I think black women think that abortion rights is for their interests. Abortion rights, Roe v. Wade, is against your interests as a black woman. How? Who kills more black children? Who kills more black children? Is it the police? Or is it Planned Parenthood? Or wait. Is it Planned Parenthood, or is it black women that end up going to Planned Parenthood? So on one hand, we say that we have to stop the killing of our black men and our black women, because it ain't just black boy babies that are dying at the abortion clinic. It is black girl babies that are dying at the abortion clinic. How is that to your interest? How do you increase your voting numbers? Politics will make you look at the issues. You will have to look, if you want to be an intelligent voter, you will have to look at these large issues. I'm gonna break it down to you again, right? Democrats will say, well, the conservatives and the Republicans got rid of Roe v. Wade and got rid of your right to abortion, and people will say, well, my body, my choice. Cool. So, as if a black man didn't have a part to play in you getting pregnant. And now You say that you care about black men getting murdered by the police. You say that you care about black women getting murdered by the police when we kill more of our babies than black on black crime kills, than quote unquote, excuse me, not black on black crime, intra-community violence. More black people are killed through abortion than intra-community violence and police murders combined. Emerson said Dr. Jamar Jim Crow Montgomery. President Quadrillion said, I love you, brother. I love you too, fam. Emerson said Dr. Jamar Jim Crow Montgomery. That is a new one. That is a new one. That is crazy, because when they can't beat you on the ideas, they will talk about you and say all kinds of things about you. It's all good though. I'm doing quite well, brother Emerson. I'm doing quite well. You want to get up on live and discuss it? I got about 10 minutes. For you. What's going on, Ryan Keith Thompson? I just got called Dr. Jamar Jim Crow Montgomery. That's funny. Emerson said, vote for Trump makes you Jim Crow. Voting for Trump makes me Jim Crow? Who said I was voting for Trump? I'm considering it. Absolutely considering it. But originally I was voting for RFK. But voting for Trump makes me Jim Crow. That is funny. So what? Am I Chicken George as well? Am I Chicken George? Oh, so you mean to tell me by voting for Joe Biden, the person who called our children, that called our children super predators, that help implement the 3 strikes law, that help implement policies that have not been beneficial to black people. That's crazy. You tear down Trump's opponents. I'm voting for Kamala. That's good. I'm glad that you voted for Kamala. President Quadrillion said, F RFK, he not for reparations. Bruh, black people ain't even for reparations. We talk that mess, but we are not going to put money behind it. We're not going to put money behind it. Black people ain't even for reparations. Like, what senator, what congressperson are you donating to? If you have not donated to a political campaign, I don't want to hear nothing that you got to say. Emerson asked me, who am I voting for? It's looking like I might be voting for Trump. Like I said, I want to vote for RFK, but it's looking like I might vote for Trump. DCS Crypto said, it's good to hear all of the pros and cons. Brisha Beautiful Bliss said, speaking fast isn't tearing down the opponents. We have to go into politics looking at all angles. Brisha, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's somebody that took Dr. Montgomery, Dr. Jamar Jim Crow Montgomery's Civics 101 class. Look up and watch the Defiant Lawyers. Emerson, I will tear anybody up in a debate. I will tear any and everybody up in a debate when it comes to this stuff. Why? Because I'm not taking an emotional position. I'm taking a factual position. It's okay. I'll look up the Defiant Lawyers. How the Defiant Lawyers come and look me up. Come with my pedigree. Come to my pedigree. I bet you the Defiant Lawyers ain't never been with the presidents at the G7. I bet the Defiant Lawyers ain't never been in Davos with the world's richest and most powerful people giving speeches. I have though. I bet the Defiant Lawyers ain't sat down with President Trump. I have though. You know what I'm saying? So let's get it. Emerson, he said, black civil rights attorney, the Defiant Lawyers on Instagram and YouTube. Guess what? I was a public defender. I was a juvenile public defender in Shreveport, Louisiana. You can't get no more civil rights than that. You can't. You can't get more civil rights than that. What do I mean? As a juvenile public defender, it was my job to protect the constitutional rights of those children. of black children. 80% of my clients were black. 60% of my clients were black men. Young black men. Excuse me. Young black boys. You can't tell me that. Most of the people that I then, not only did I defend kids, but I defended guys that they were trying to lock up for child support, violating their constitutional rights. Like, hey, I hear you, but guess what? You ain't talking to somebody that don't know what they talking about. You talking about somebody that lived it and done it. When's the last time you ran for office? When's the last time that you ran for office? I did. 2020 U.S. Senate candidate in Louisiana. 2020 U.S. Senate candidate in Louisiana, while I was practicing law as a juvenile public defender, while I was participating in protests, while I was doing research on protests. Emerson said, you vote for Trump and MAGA, they are tearing down our civil rights. GOP has already knocked down the Voting Rights Act. Let me help you out with something. You know that your free speech has been under more attack underneath the Biden administration than underneath the Trump administration? Think about that. Argue? Hey, Emerson, set it up. Help me set it up. I'm with it. 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 Let's go. Let's go. Look, I'm not saying, the thing is that people think that one party is better than another. I'm saying that based upon my interests, based upon the things that are important to me, based upon what are my interests. I'm a Second Amendment advocate. Emerson, you've been trying to get them on my behind? Nah. Help me set it up. You talking. You talking. You talking. You help me set it up. Well, I'm there for it. Anyways, the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I'm a big First Amendment advocate. All you will be doing is helping their weak little channel. They are old. Don't waste your time, Doc. Oh, I appreciate that, Rhonda Maloney. I appreciate that. Like I said, I had Roland Martin pissed off with me. Why? Bruh, you caping for you caping for the Democratic Party, right? Cape for your interests. Cape for your interests. At the end of the day, it is still old white men that are making decisions. Unfortunately, under the Democrats, the Democrats don't respect you if you got money. They don't respect you if you're doing work in the community. At least with the Republicans, if you provide some kind of value to them, they'll open up their resources to you. They'll open up your resources to you. Why? Because there's an exchange. There's an exchange. Old Roland, DCS Crypto said, old Roland. White supremacy. Rhonda Maloney said, Dems look at us like slaves. The Dems don't even, you know what? That's one way of looking at it. But I'll say that the Dems look at us like, grease in the machine. Like grease in the machine. Let's the gears of politics are going, and the only way that we can keep it going smooth is if we got the black vote going in there. We're not gonna give them nothing. We just gonna give them trinkets. Diametrically 360 said we are tools for them. Point blank period. Point blank period. Once again, my support. I love Kamala Harris as a black woman. If she decides that she wants to be a black woman, if she decides that when it's inconvenient for her to be a black woman, that she's a black woman, that she identifies as a black woman. But it's interesting. Watch this. You have a cop. The top cop and a felon walk into the bar at the same time looking for the same job. I just no. I'm not voting for Kamala. I'm not voting for Kamala, and I don't bash anybody that decides that they're voting for her. But it's convenient for it's convenient for her to do that. And that's the thing, is that people are unapologetic about getting to where they are. Like, they'll do whatever it is necessary to get to where they want to be. And that part I respect. That part I respect. Why? Because if you want to be successful, there's going to be things that you have to do. There's a cost to pay. I respect it. I respect the hustle. I don't respect the outcome. She made choices. Emerson said, MAGA wants to take away our rights. Okay. What rights does MAGA want to take away? I'm going to put it like this. It's the government. The government is trying to take away your rights in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Whether it's Republicans, whether it's Democrats. The way that you protect your rights is by becoming wealthy. Point blank, period. MAGA will destroy Obamacare. More black people have health insurance now than ever. Well, you know what black people should do? They should be lobbying to both parties. They should be saying, look, this is what's important to us. We will vote for you if you protect this. If you protect Obamacare, we will vote for you. We will donate to you. We will volunteer for you. We keep waiting to hear what the parties are going to give to us instead of going to the parties with our votes and with our money and with our voice. That's the problem. That's the problem. We taking what's given to us instead of demanding what we want. That's the problem with black folks. Nobody's gonna. I'm just gonna give you what I got left. I'm just gonna give you what I got left. Not give you my best. That's the problem. That's the problem. Democrats elected the first United States black vice president, first Secretary of Defense, first Supreme Court Justice. Let me help you out with something. Kamala was appointed as vice president. The Book of Samaj said, I dislike how we just fell in line on this one. We did, because they pulled the race card and we fell for it. Oh, she's a black woman? Oh, I'm going for it. Yeah, no wonder. Bruh, that's fine. That's fine. It's all good that she's a black woman. That should make it easier for her for us to give her our ear, right? But at the end of the day, like, you still gotta tell me. You still gotta tell me about the thing. No, Alex. The guy didn't call me back. Ronald Maloney said, keep arguing with you, but you won't speak up to a Republican if it would save his life. Brescia said, we have to stop giving them the tools to target us. We abuse our rights by not exercising them and using our voice. They feel like we're going to eventually take our own race out anyway. Exactly. Emerson, my foolishness is sickening. Ugh. That's fine. That's fine. I don't see anything foolish about it. But if you see it's foolish, okay, then great. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Just because you're black doesn't mean you deserve the black vote. You want to know something? I learned that lesson when I ran for office. I learned that lesson that regardless of if you might be the best qualified candidate, you might be the most educated candidate, you might be the most good-looking candidate. Because I know I was the sexiest and most handsome candidate in 2020, especially for the U.S. Senate race. Wasn't nobody touching this handsome face right here. Wasn't nobody touching my education. Wasn't nobody touching my experience. I was black. I had great ideas. I had to earn every single last vote that I got. 5,485 votes. Thank you, Ronald Maloney. I'm saying to you that race doesn't cut it. First name, last name. Montgomery, first name, last name. You already know. You gotta give more than just the fact that I'm black. You gotta give more than that. You have to be able to speak to people's issues. You gotta be able to speak to people's interests. And the problem with black people is that we don't know what our interests are. We think, oh, I'm a black woman. She's a black woman. She's gonna take care of me. No. You're a black woman. She might identify as a black woman, but you know what she is more than a black woman? She's a politician beholden to the Democratic Party. That's what she is. Outside all that other stuff, she is the vice president of the United States. So she has to do the thing that will keep the states united. Meaning that America has a problem with black people getting things. America has a problem with reparations. America has a problem with black people getting benefits. So that's why you will see every other racial group get tangible benefits for them, specifically for them. Watch this. You as somebody, you as an American-born black person, you as an American-born descendant of free and enslaved Africans, you cannot benefit from immigration. You don't get none of the benefits of immigration. Oh, the same way they were giving immigrants free health care, the same way that immigrants were getting free housing, that they were getting employment stipends. You, as an American citizen, whose ancestors gave their life, their blood, their sweat, and their tears, you didn't have access to that. Diametrically 360 says she has no problem sending money to Ukraine or Israel either. Y'all gonna make me play the song. Y'all gonna make me play the song. Got billions to give Israel and Ukraine, but no money for reparations. Y'all gonna make me play it. 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 Not the whole song. I'm trying to tell y'all. Here it is. 30 years ago. Prime Bill Joe, genocide Joe. Joe is uninvited from the cookout until he makes good on campaign promises. And anyone who sneaks him a plate or votes is going to have to answer to the black community. We got billions to give Israel and Ukraine, but no money for reparations. But no money for reparations. For those that didn't know, that's my song. Genocide Joe, go to sleep, ho. Genocide Joe, go to sleep, ho. The scenario said we should have casinos as well. Bookworm Sigma said, do you have an issue with collective security? I have a problem when I watch specific groups get benefits and I, as a specific group, do not receive benefits. Or I, as a specific group, am not being made aware of budgets and resources made available to me, specifically for me. Because let's say this. Let's say that the Biden administration did have set asides for black entrepreneurs and for black people. You know what they didn't do? Publicize it. Why? Because I can say I released all this money. Nobody took advantage of it. So guess what? I'm going to cut that budget and give it to somebody else. Oh, but you know how the message gets out? If you have black people, if you have a connection with the actual black community and black organizers and people that you may not necessarily agree with, but could be advocates. People like myself. I've made myself available to the Biden campaign. Bookworm Sigma said it's not always about you, it's about the collective and the international community. I do not believe that you can take care of somebody else better than you can take care of home. Brescia said, exactly, every other race gets it back, but us, they refuse and continue to refuse. They hate to acknowledge slavery. They downplay it, but let them talk about the Holocaust. Ooh, Brescia, what done got into you? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. See, y'all, that's somebody that was educated by me, and this is what happens when you take one of my classes and you start applying the actual knowledge. That mud from your eyes gets wiped away. We've done it during World War II and the Cold War. We're the only superpower that is left. That is not true. That is not true. We definitely did it during World War II, but we kicked everybody's behind. Cold War, Russia was in dire financial straits. And guess what? We helped create the superpowers that are here now. We helped make China a superpower. You wanna know who helped did it? Henry Kissinger, Richard Nixon, and a couple others. Do you think we will be the scenario? Do you think we will be going to war if Trump gets into office? That is a great question. We're already at war. We're already at war. Why do I say that? We just, out of all the time that we have had a specific weapon system called the Mark 41 vertical launching system, this was the first time in 30 years that it's ever been deployed in combat. We going before Trump is sworn in. The scenario, Rhonda Maloney said, nope, just a financial crisis. What are our interests as black folks? Lady Hope Vision said, we may be going deeper into war regardless. Bookworm Sigma said, I'm talking about a powerful military that is maintaining, sometimes erroneously, world peace. Well, you know what? Russia's maintaining world peace. China's maintaining world peace. The problem is that we think that as Americans that we know best. We think as Americans that we know best, that we got all the answers. That's not to say that we do great things. We do great things across the world, but a lot of times it has to do with having interests. We're not doing that out of the goodness of our heart. We're doing that because there's business interest there, or we're trying to prevent China or Russia from having influence. Like the Russians, the Wagner Group is out in Africa fighting terrorists right now. By attacking Ukraine, that's maintaining world peace. I'm going to hit you with something else. Crazy part about it is that Putin said that if you add, it was two countries, I believe it was Georgia and Ukraine. If you add them to NATO, he was going to attack. Why? Because when you add a country to NATO, now they get access to all of your weapon systems. And guess that's close. That would be like if Russia said, you know what, we're going to get cool with Mexico. And the United States is like, y'all too close. Oh, what's an example of that? The Cuban Missile Crisis, where the Russians were going to put ballistic missiles 90 miles off the shores of the United States, and the United States went ham. Brescia said, we are already in a financial crisis and have been, but I absolutely believe we are already in war going into it. Rhonda Maloney said, no, just money laundering. Book of Samaj said, yup. So what happened in 1939? What happened in 1939? We were coming out of a depression, because the depression started, I believe, in 33, and then 39 was right before World War One. Financial crisis. The financial crisis and interest rates are going to go back lower because they're going to have to flood the economy with easy money. And then when the economy gets flooded with easy money, then we're going to have to pump that into the military-industrial complex, because a lot of people are going to get nervous and are going to are going to be, yes, a lot of people are going to be nervous, and they're going to want to feel secure. And so the United States is going to be building a whole bunch of bombs and bullets and missiles so that they can either sell it to others. But once again, we keep looking at this from just an American point of view, but there's another point of view. There's another point of view. And the problem is that when you only see your point of view, you cannot understand why others make the moves that they make. When you are unable to empathize with your quote-unquote enemy, or unable to empathize with, or you're so caught up in how you feel, when you're so caught up in how you feel that it makes it difficult for you to understand how others might feel or might see or perceive things, then that's a blind spot for you. And you'll always, always catch a left hook. Always. I guarantee it. Something that'll knock you clean on your behind. Diametrically 360 said, what if Biden is on his deathbed at the moment? What happens next? You know what's crazy is I truly believe that we are going to have, that Kamala Harris is going to be president for a brief second. For a brief second. I don't know what it is, but I think that this COVID thing is going to be rough on Joe Biden, and it's going to be rough on Joe Biden. And what would be crazy is if Article 25 was invoked and Kamala Harris becomes president as a result. That would be wild. Was an assassination attempt on anybody's bingo card? No. Was Biden dropping out on anyone's bingo card? On some prophets bingo card. Yeah. Bookworm 6. So let's say that Putin's army captures Kiev and Ukraine surrenders, and then he decides to maneuver his army northwest to Poland. Then what? Poland ain't no hoe. Poland ain't no hoe. And I highly doubt that Putin is going to make his move to Poland. I highly doubt that. Ain't no money in Poland. Ain't no real protection in him going after Poland. Doesn't have much to gain. You know where he has a lot to gain? All that stuff that Wagner Group is doing in Africa. Getting a hold of those natural resources and those natural earth, those rare earth minerals. Diametrically 360 says, allegedly Joe isn't doing well. Diametrically 360 said, I think Putin stops with Ukraine. Bookworm Sigma said, we don't know that at all. We don't. But we did know that he was going to go after Ukraine because he said it. If you add Ukraine to NATO, I will do this. And the United States and NATO didn't think that fat meat was greasy. And fat meat was greasy. But yeah. I could go on and on and on and on and on. But I'm glad that everybody joined my live this evening. I will leave you with some final words. I want to thank everybody for joining this particular live. I want to thank you all for supporting me. I would ask that you go to youtube.com/Dr. Jamar Montgomery and subscribe to my YouTube and click the bell notification so that you can be notified when I have new videos. I would greatly appreciate that. I should have recorded this one, but I was like, let me just go ahead and get this out the way. But know your interest. Know what your interests are. And I told my students your interests are any and everything that you are willing to show up at somebody's front door and not taking no for an answer, ain't hearing nothing that they gotta say, just coming in straight kicking ass. He was going to invade Ukraine whether it sought NATO membership or not. I don't know about that. I would say reasonable reasonable minds can differ. And especially after reading and listening to Professor John Mersheimer, 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 from the University of Chicago. He gives a great breakdown of the Ukraine conflict. And guess what? Guess who was also involved in some of those negotiations? Guess who had meetings with senior Ukrainian military officials and Ukrainian politicians? This guy here. Guess who was at the Ukrainian prayer day? And when President Joe Biden came to visit, guess who was there? Me. 2023. So I'm not just saying this as just a regular person. I'm saying this as somebody that's been in those rooms. But yeah, I hope y'all have a great evening. Be blessed. Jesus Christ is Lord. Go read your Bibles. Spend some time with God. Give some thanks. If he ain't speaking to you, at least make sure that you speak to him. That is where my source of salvation comes from. That is where that is where my sense of peace and my power comes from. I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. So I thank him for giving me the strength right now to give this message. And y'all take care and be blessed. Good night, y'all.